A blockbuster can only bust as many blocks as it does with marketing. While word of mouth and good reviews can keep the film selling tickets in the long run, marketing is the most essential part towards getting audiences into cinemas in the opening weekend, the time where the film, no matter how good nor bad, makes the most money. People like to say that the reason the movie flopped at the box office was that it just wasn't a good film, and that all you need to do to make money is to make good films. However, this wouldn't explain why Shawshank Redemption, often considered one of the greatest movies of all time by various well-respected critics, only made $28 million against a $25 million budget, while Transformers Age of Extinction got enough butts and seats to make $1 billion bastard dollars. Transformers Age of Extinction is the fourth film in the Transformers franchise, a film series named by Mark Kermode as a series so loud that you can't understand what's going on. A film series hated by most everybody that has any respect for the film medium, and yet it is a franchise that has earned almost $4 billion and a small but dedicated fan base. So while critics and apparently audiences too hate these films, why do they continue to be such a success? And with the fifth instalment marking the franchise's decade-long run, why are audiences still going to see these films despite not even liking them? It's all thanks to marketing. Marketing is a big meat pie filled with steak and gravy. The steak and gravy is our film, the crust around the pie is our marketing. The crust is what makes the filling inside look more desirable than it would if it was just a brown lumpy splodge on a plate. We want our pie to have the best crust around, and we want it to be shown on the finest china. Now remember china, because that will be important later. If audiences see the pie, they see the plate first. That's our poster, so you can glance at and not much else. They take a bit of the crust, letting a tiny dribble of gravy ooze out. The audience eats the crust. It tastes good. They've just watched our trailer and seen a hint of our film shown to them in a way that makes it look as appealing as humanly possible. Now they take their fork, they dig right in, ripping the crust apart to get to the meat inside. They take a chunk of steak, put it to their lips, and bite. They've just paid to see Transformers Age of Extinction, and it tasted pretty nasty. But it doesn't matter that it tastes like feces. It doesn't matter that it's 165 minutes long and makes watching paint dry seem like a rollercoaster of emotion and excitement by comparison. The audience bit into the steak, and that's all the studio needs to greenlight another shipment of pies from the local Asda, whose pies taste quite similar to Transformers 4 in this whole metaphor, by the way. There's a very good reason I wasted 266 precious words on savoury meaty badness, and that is I wanted to explain exactly why these movies continue to make money, and you can never have enough pie analogies. The audiences don't need to like the movie, they simply need to watch it. However, you need to find the right people to appeal your pie to. Transformers is a series based entirely around robots punching each other. Who likes robots punching each other? Asia. Specifically, China, a country with a population of 1.3 billion people. That's 1.3 billion possible tickets sold in the producer's eyes. China is also very stingy with the foreign films it allows to be shown within its borders. If the movie makes China look bad or mocks any part of Chinese culture, history or mythology, the government will ban the film from being shown at all. And in 2014, the year Transformers Age of Extinction was released, the country imported only 34 foreign films, and Transformers 4 was one of them. So they'd broken into their target market. Now they need to appease them. The best way to do that would be to feature China. The third act of the film moves to Hong Kong with very flimsy reasoning that this is where the factory making the Transformers is located, despite there already being a factory-looking thing in Chicago. The move doesn't impact the story, it just impacts the scenery and the language of the signs that gets blown up. So they've now adjusted a good portion of their plot to be based in China, but location isn't an endorsement, much in the same way Trainspotting isn't an advertisement for Scotland.
It's shite being Scottish!
To make China look good, they were going to need a bit more than just moving the third act over to Hong Kong. All throughout the story of the film, the American government, notably the CIA, has been shown to us in a negative light. They are the villains, and despite all the American flags shown in the film, America are still the bad guys. The Chinese aren't exactly the biggest fans of America, so that's the point in the bag already. But what if they showed the Chinese government in a good light? What if they made the government out as if it was extremely equipped to deal with difficult situations like metal dinosaurs ripping up the streets? And that's exactly what Paramount did. They endorsed communism to sell their film to China, and it worked. The film grossed over $300 million in China alone, the first of its kind, breaking all kinds of box office records. However, China wasn't the only market Paramount wanted to reach. If they had just wanted China's money, they would have cast Jackie Chan in the main role and made the entire movie in Mandarin. No, they wanted America's money too. And how best to get America's money? Coolness. I decided to perform a bit of a study. Not a formal study or anything, All I did was take the first 10 comments in 3 Reddit posts, each focused on Transformers Age of Extinction.
Voila, I suppose.
I hate people who complain about the plot. It's based on a children's cartoon made specifically to sell toys. They don't exactly have the best material to go off of. Besides, it's a giant robot riding a giant robot dinosaur. What's better than that?
This one got a bit excited, apparently.
I don't care what this says about me, but this looks badass and I'm super stoked. Fuck the haters. I'm seeing this on opening night to watch some Transformers beat the shit out of each other.
Something that I noticed from most of these comments is that the people behind the screens feel like they're in the minority in enjoying the series and feel guilty about their excitement. There's something quite strange about this. It seems like they are constantly needing to defend themselves for simply liking the series in any way. Notice how the phrase, "I don't care," was repeated a good couple times within these comments that I picked out and displayed. The mere existence of the sentence proves that these individuals do, in fact, care immensely. People like to say that the Transformers series is meant to be a guilty pleasure and easy viewing. However, the idea of the series existing solely as a guilty pleasure would make sense. However, they aren't marketed as easy, light entertainment. The first trailer features an awful lot of humans talking to each other and not an awful lot of robots hitting each other with varying degrees of sharp objects. Both main trailers feature a slow pace and a dark tone, asking questions about betrayal and whether it's even worth protecting the humans at all. Light entertainment that can be enjoyed as a guilty pleasure usually doesn't come equipped with a longer running time than Bridge over the River Kwai either, nor take up the first 40 minutes attempting to develop characters with the depth and content of an unflushed toilet bowl. So I don't believe being guilty pleasures is the reason for the $250 million domestic gross in the United States. Instead, this series is the master of appeasing to the fans' wishes. To demonstrate this, let's take a trip back to the long-distant past of 2009 when Transformers Revenge of the Fallen had the nerve of gracing the big screen. The movie was heavily criticised for its non-existent plot, non-existent character development for neither the heroes nor the villains, crude, out-of-place, unfunny humour featuring racist and sexist stereotypes.
What are we gonna do with this shrimp taco?
It was also criticised for showing no consequences for the destruction caused in the first movie, where they simply had the government cover it all up. They covered up a robot battle in downtown LA. Yeah, okay mate. Despite being regarded by the only source that matters, me, as a bit of a rubbish movie, it made almost $1 billion, and so a sequel was greenlit. This sequel was 2011's Dark of the Moon. Dark of the Moon removed nearly all the humour, keeping comedic relief non-offensive and light. Plot featured much more heavily. The film starts off with a 10-minute montage of the moon landing explaining the history of the Transformers and how they arrived on Earth. The villain has much more character and an actual motivation that made sense within the context of the film, and was even given a connection with the main robot lead, Optimus Prime. And finally, we were shown consequences of the actions of their previous films. It wasn't much, just a voiceover saying that
Energon detectors guard its cities now,
which is never featured in the film again. But it's a start, and as a result, the movie was much better received than the previous one. And after Dark of the Moon, it seemed like people were growing tired of the cast. We'd seen Shia LaBeouf ploddle about for over 7 hours of movie time now across an entire trilogy. The audience wanted some new faces, and new faces they received. Mark Wahlberg's face to be exact, as well as Stanley Tucci's and Kelsey Grammer's, much older stars than the previous ones. Remember that by this point the target audience for the first film had grown up by 7 years. They were more mature, and so they demanded a more mature story, with more adult themes and characters. Not sex and drugs and what have you, themes that weren't just, "I've been betrayed, oh no!" And so the film went overboard and picked 2 completely different themes. It took on commercialism with Stanley Tucci, government conspiracy with Kelsey Grammer, and where we, more specifically they, come from, with the character Lockdown. 3 very different themes and concepts that draw in 3 very different audiences. I believe these 3 audiences are what made Transformers Age of Extinction a success in the United States. 3 very different types of people that grew up with the 2007 movie, brought back to the franchise under the hope of some deeper concept. Whether they were disappointed or not is not the point of this essay. Oh, they fucking were. The point is that there's deeper reasoning behind the series' continued success than it's just robots fighting, as most people, even the defenders of the franchise, will say. That is how they marketed Transformers Age of Extinction, through manipulating the footage that they had to create a tone that wasn't there, concepts that seem like they'll be explored deeper in the movie's seemingly endless running time, and character development that's as strong in a 2-minute trailer as it is in the 3-hour picture.